Hey everybody, Josh here. Welcome back to the channel. What are we doing today? So it is gorgeous outside. It's close to 70 degrees, March 10th, and we need to do some equalizing. So made an initial assessment on some of these colonies. Some are doing what appears to be very well. Some are limping along, I think. So I've only kind of popped a few tops, just kind of looked inside. Haven't pulled any frames yet because I don't really like pulling frames when it's chilly outside. I don't want to chill any brood. You have to move quickly if it's going to be like 50 degrees or less. I know like Bob Binney says he pulls them all the way down to 45 degrees, but you need to work really quickly or you can chill that brood and end up killing the brood and really setting your bees back. It makes me a little bit nervous. So I generally don't like to get into them unless I absolutely have to, until you start getting in towards those 60 degrees, maybe closer to 70, because bees will start to cluster around 58 degrees. So I've got 11 colonies, I think, from the original 18 that I tried to overwinter. So far, 7 losses. Not great. It stinks, but it is what it is. We're going to make the most of it. And the colonies that are really strong, what I plan to do today is do an assessment. Number one, make sure the colony looks healthy, make sure they're queen right. I guarantee you some of these are already brooding up quite a bit. And so what you can do is you can steal some frames, some brood frames, some capped brood from those strong colonies and put it into the weaker ones to really help equalize, hence the term equalizing, and give the weaker ones a boost so that ideally all 11 of these colonies will end up being pretty strong coming into the springtime. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's go ahead and get suited up, get our smoker lit, and let's get out in the yard. All righty. Let's start with these first hives here. A little bit of wind today, not terrible. I'm hoping it stays that way. Yeah, it's nice out here. It's high 60s last time I checked. It gets exciting when get close to this springtime. I need some new gloves. Actually, stay tuned for a future video on that. But these have about had it. I may end up pulling these off because they're so stiff. So this is a colony I'm uncertain about. I'm pretty sure this colony here, this gray one, is doing just fine. So I'm likely going to rob some frames out of this one. We'll see. And put them in here if this colony is doing okay. I have no idea. They may be limping along here. Just take this Vivaldi board off and see what we're dealing with. Now, I think we have another casualty. What it looks like to me. Looks like it's just being robbed out. Brutal. And this is the one I'd kind of been having my eye on, that if I was going to lose one more, this is the one that it was going to be. So let's just pull a frame. The activity on this one is different than all the others. That's your first sign. It's just stuck together. Pull this frame in the middle and take a look. Yeah, yeah, we got some dead bees on the bottom board, but ultimately I'll have to take this one inside and see what killed these bees. So that takes my losses up to 8 out of 18. So I'm back to 10 colonies. If you're a half glass full kind of guy like I am on the good side, that's what I started the year with last year. So I guess I'm right back to where I started. Not really where I wanted to be, Here's a frame with some dead bees on it. Let's pull that one real quick. Just see if we can see anything. Set that one aside. This frame right here. Let's have a quick assessment here. Yeah, so we got bees buried down, head first down in the cells, and I'll show you here in a second. So another sign of starvation. And they had food. Yeah. And they had food. And the hive alive patty is just, if the cluster was so small and it was cold, they couldn't move. So do you see the bees right here? Oops, focus. They've got their heads buried down in those cells. So that is a sign of starvation. I may end up, if there's enough bees on the bottom board, I may just go ahead and do a mite wash just to see. And there are dead bees down here. Just to see what that ends up, what they end up washing. See if possibly mites took them out. But I was talking to one of my buddies. We were talking about some of the losses this year. And if you had possibly had queens that were failing, or, you know, it could absolutely be mites, even though I treated for mites. Doesn't always mean that the treatments are successful. But yeah, this is another dead out. So we'll set this one aside. Take it back into the pole barn there. And I'll remove some of that hive alive that's inside there. Inside that Vivaldi board, and we'll get it out. Well, let's go ahead and check what I believe to be the healthy colonies. Let's see what they look like. There's definitely some foraging activity going on today. I've seen pollen coming in. Even though I think we're pretty much past the cold parts, I'm not ready to remove the quilt boxes just yet. I am still feeding. They are still taking the hive alive patty. It's a way for me to feed, so I kind of like these Vivaldi boards. They're pretty versatile in that way. So let's go ahead and take a look inside this one. See what the bees are doing. Yeah. Not a huge cluster, but decent size. Look on the underside of this. Just make sure the queen's not there. Nope. Okay. Set this aside. Let's go ahead. Oops. Well, it's really wanting to come out of there, isn't it? Let's just set it here then. Gave them a little bit of a pollen patty here, which you can see they've been chewing on and using, as well as some hive alive here they've been taking. Let's set that aside. So we got a decent cluster right here. Go ahead and take a few frames out. Check queen right status. Take that frame. There's some bees on that one. Try to get them down a little bit. Yep, got some nice food here. Honey on that frame. Somewhat heavy, not a ton, but plenty of food. Let's see about what's on this frame. And we got more food. And there's our queen and there's our brood. So, nice green dot queen. And she's definitely brooding up, but she could certainly benefit from a frame or two from one of the stronger colonies. So, but she'll be just fine. Do you see her there? Good looking queen. So, well, we got one that made it. Let's take a look at this next frame here, just see what kind of laying pattern she's got going on here. If she's been laying over here yet. Yep. And starting a brood pattern here too. So it's a good laying pattern. It's not huge, but she's just getting started. So we're definitely going to give her a boost. Once I find a stronger colony, we will put a frame in here or two, because I'd like to get this colony's numbers up. Let's take one last look at this frame. Yeah, there's food on this one. Oh, there's brood in it too. So, and there's some honey, and then there's food coming in here too. So you can see glistening. I don't know if they're robbing that honey I got over there. Would be my guess. So, what I'm going to do on this one is going to squeeze these frames back together. And for the newer beekeepers, the reason why I'm doing it this way, moving them all at once, is because you don't want to risk pinching or killing your queen. So when you do find your queen and you put her back in here, you want to keep all the frames moving together so that you're not risking rolling or killing that queen. And I'm going to leave this frame out. I am going to put the top back on the colony. I'll put the inner cover on them just for now. And then once I find a stronger colony to steal a frame of capped brood from, I'll stick it inside this colony. So let's reposition the camera over here, and we'll take a look at these next two. Okay. Trying to figure out which way the wind's blowing so I keep the smoke out of the bees. Need to collect all this hive alive fondant that's just been laying out. Some of the bees are taking it, but they're not really going after it that hard. I guess a stronger colony. A little bit. Yep. Yeah, let's take a look underneath here, just make sure the queen's not on it. I don't see her. And it looks like they've eaten most of that hive alive. This is a bigger colony, not huge by any stretch of imagination, but you got a cluster about here. Go ahead and pull this. They've definitely taken quite a bit of the pollen patty that I gave them. All right. Pull this first frame. Okay, food and food. Capped honey. So just what you would expect to see. See some bees with some pollen baskets there. See some bee bread right here. Not much going on this side, but I wouldn't expect to see the queen on this frame. No, just more food. Curious, you fellow beekeepers out there, what kind of, have you all experienced colony losses this year? And if so, has it been pretty bad? Drop a comment and let me know how your overwintering success has gone. So I see eggs and brood in here, so we definitely have queen right status. I'm going to scan to see if I can find her. We got pretty good brood patterns starting on this side too. Yeah, I'm curious, at least across the United States. I'm not sure if our other neighboring countries, if our friends across the pond there in Europe have experienced some colony losses like we have been here stateside. But yeah, I'm curious how the rest of you all been doing. I know this colony's queen right, so I pretty much confirmed. That they're doing fine. She's definitely brooding up. Oh, she's about to get a ton of smoke there. I don't see her yet. I do see eggs and really young larvae in here. All good signs. No sign of the queen yet. Maybe she's on this next one. So this colony is doing better than the other one. I don't want to steal from this one because it's not doing, phenomenal. And I want them to have the numbers and do well. There she is, another green dot queen. So let me show you her. Got some bee bread here. She's in this top corner there. I think she's got her head down in a cell. So that's bee bread right there that you see. It's a mixture of like honey, pollen, nectar if it's coming in, although I don't think we have any nectar sources yet. But yep, she's looking good. Let's get her back in the colony here. So as far as this colony is concerned, I think they're fine. Here towards the beginning of March, they're right where they need to be. They're not exploding. There's no risk of this colony swarming as of now. I didn't see any drones. I wasn't particularly looking closely for drones. I didn't see any drone brood. But I don't want to steal resources from this colony because they're doing like what I would call like a C plus, a B minus, a B maybe, whereas that one really needs a boost. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to put this colony back together, and I'm going to wait to see if I can find a stronger colony to steal a frame from and give to that one. And guys, this stuff is not an exact science, okay? I'm sure there's plenty of people watching that end up saying, oh, I wouldn't do it that way, or I'd do this, or I'd go ahead and, this is not an exact science. This is kind of making on-the-fly judgment calls and assessments, right? Wonder how much. Let's check their Hive Alive patty. They've got food in the colony. There's no risk here of any starvation, especially with the warmer weather that's going to allow them to move about. But I want to see how much patty they have left. That one's tight. Yeah. They still have plenty. They still have plenty. And this is why I put this little cage here, because they have found their way up and around the patty. There's bees crawling right around the outside of the patty here, and I don't want them in my quilt box. So that's exactly why I put that number 8 hardware cloth and that little shim in there over the inner cover hole, because I don't want them up in there. Okay, so this one's good. This one's good. We're going to mark this one with my very archaic brick system as being good to go. I'm only like, what, 2 or 3 colonies in here, and I'm already like feeling like the back, like getting old stinks. Okay, if I've checked them, you guys are going to keep me honest. This is going to be on recorded video, so I'll be able to go back and watch. But if I've checked them and they're good and they're ready for the spring, no more intervention needed, I'm going to keep the brick vertical, okay? I don't think they need this pollen patty back in there, to be honest with you. There's pollen substitute, and there's natural pollen that's coming in too. I don't really think they're going to start taking it. And I really don't want small hive beetle issues. So let's move to the next one, shall we? Hopefully this one's okay. I don't think it's going to be a strong one. We'll see. We shall see. This one may be another loss. Because I was worried about this one. I had this one marked too. It's iffy. If that's a cluster, guys, it's the world's smallest cluster. Let's see if there's a laying queen in there. I mean, holy moly. Or let's just see if it's getting robbed out. Always possible. There's honey. So it's very possible it's just getting robbed out. Let's see what's over here. Oh my God, there is a queen. Is she laying? Or is she failing? Let me show you the queen. She's not a very good looking queen. She has a little bit of a green dot on her. Not much. Pretty small looking queen in my opinion. So now I'm just trying to look in the sun here and see if, I mean, there is a worker pattern there, right? But, well, she's the opposite of impressive. Trying to see if there's any eggs over here. Now, honestly, guys, I think she's failing. I think she's failing. I see a few eggs and a few little bits of larvae, but that's literally the entire cluster right there, guys. I mean, that's pathetic. I have half a mind to just shake these bees out. Yeah, I mean, this is that time in beekeeping where you make the tough call, but in my opinion, the right call. This colony is not going to take off in the spring like it needs to. She's failing. Who knows if she didn't get mated properly? Could be any number of things, but this colony is not going to do well. Yeah. So this is what I do, and it may not be a popular opinion, but she's going to get pinched, and the rest of these bees are going to. You can just grab her here. Oh. Just grab her, and you just pinch her. And I know it stinks, but hang on to her because she's real smelly and stinky. And I'll put her in a cage, and you can use her to help attract, like swarm attractant. Sorry, that was probably really loud on the microphone. Apologies. But I'll stick her in here, and we will keep her and put her in some alcohol and use that later. It sucks, but as few bees as left here, I'm just shaking them out. And then I'll set these frames out to get robbed out. But guys, it's when a colony is that tiny and she's clearly failing, I mean, you can tell the difference. Look at the difference between what you saw in this colony versus what you saw in this one, right? It's a no-brainer. So sometimes you gotta pinch them. So let's put these frames back in. She wasn't a very good-looking queen either. She was pretty small. I'm guessing. Just this is a guess, a wild guess on my part, but as small as her abdomen was, she probably didn't get mated very well. This is my guess. That's my guess. So what we're going to do is put these frames back in, and we're going to let them rob this out. So technically not a dead out, but a failing queen for sure. Failing queen for sure. So let's go ahead and set this one aside too. And we'll let the bees rob that out. So we've got... So hopefully all those, I mean, some of those bees may end up coming back into this colony. So, yeah. What do you guys think? You think that was the right call? I mean, there's a lot of beekeepers that will end up shaming me for that, or just writing negative things in the comments. But I think part of beekeeping is also good beekeeping, being good stewards of bees, is also making the right call when clearly things aren't right and the colony is failing. I guess you could let Mother Nature do the cruel part and eventually take them out, but that colony was going nowhere. That colony was not going to bounce back. That queen, there was like hardly any brood whatsoever. These queens right now should have frames of brood that they're laying. As you could see, even with these two, there were several frames of brood. So I don't want weak, underperforming genetics like that in my apiary, even though I've already had significant losses this year. Technically, I think I'm at 50% now. So it is what it is, but we'll bounce back from this. We'll make splits from these strong colonies, and before you know it, just due to the nature of bee math, you'll have bees coming out your ears. It's just the way it is. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and go through the rest of the yard and do equalizing. I know technically I didn't get to equalize yet, just because I was hoping these were going to be stronger, but clearly they weren't. But I do think I have some really strong colonies over here. These were the ones that were always kind of iffy. The ones that I had left, that I had marked as, I don't know. So, but yeah, we'll take a look at the rest of those. But that's it for this video. I hope you guys liked it. Please give it the thumbs up if you did. Have a beautiful day. It's gorgeous out here, and I'll see you on the next video.